Action! Hello. You're probably wondering why I came back from the future today. Well, you're going to find out. This pretty much sums it all up. No, it is not today's cocktail. This is a avocado. See how it's normally these avocados, when you're growing them from seed, you put toothpicks in it, and the toothpicks hold it while it's sitting in the cup in the water, and then eventually it starts to split. I don't know if you can see that. It's splitting right there, and surely you can see the I'm not going to pull it out because then it'll be a big mess, but it'll it has the roots are coming out. I chose to use, since I have martini glasses, or for some reason in abundance. No, actually it's not a martini glass, but anyway, the idea is that the thing is immersed in water, but the top is left not immersed for some reason, whatever reason that is, and it starts to sprout. Anyone can do this at home or wherever you are, and there are websites that you can go to and find out how to do it in more detail. In fact, you can go to the 2020 website. Pardon me. The 2020 website, if you log in there to 2020.com or 2020thebook.com, you'll find in chapter 4, part 1, chapter 4, you'll see a link there to materials that show you how, yes, even you can grow an avocado. And of course you're wondering, why? What does that have to do with environmental disaster, economic collapse, and calamity? And you're wanting to know, since I'm from the future, what are we supposed to do? Start growing avocados in water? And the short answer is yes. Yes, that's amongst the things that you can do to make it through this. And it is indeed the things that we do in the future. You'll notice in the book, because you've already read it, but you've forgotten, there's a part in the book about growing plants to feed yourself. One of the entries I remember from Harrison, well, that was from my own entry, where I describe looking at the Harrison Chronicles and expressing surprise that you would be surprised, dear reader, that we had to write things down like how to grow food to feed ourselves. But you see, at the time, this was back before the 2020s, and Harrison was figuring this out already back then, how to grow food, how to do many things to make his hermitage, is what we call it, self-sustaining, able to produce its own energy, able to manage resources, able to grow things to feed ourselves. These are all skills that we all need to learn. And so that should be self-evident. At least it is to me, but of course I'm from the future. I already know this. But I was told by the producers that there was a message that came in from a group of people in New Zealand, of all places. They sent a message. It was Jean at Gen Reviews, who does reviews for many different things, but associated with Gen Reviews is a place called Happy DIY Home. I'll give you the website, or you can click on it if you visit 2020 to see what they're all about. I can just tell you, which is that they do it yourself in many different ways. They're not exactly survivalists, but they do talk about many different things about doing it yourself in your home, including gardening, including growing vegetables that you can eat, and growing fruit trees like an avocado. So today's reading, I thought I would just, in response to the message from our friends in New Zealand, if you look at their website, you'll see that actually the contributors and the members of Happy DIY Home are from all over the world. Jean from Gen Reviews is in New Zealand, but apparently there's quite a few people, not only in New Zealand, but many other places that are starting to catch on to the idea that it might be a good idea to start growing at least some of your own crops at home, because you never know in this crazy world that you're entering when you might not be able to find food so readily, and other things. Don't mean to scare you, but it is something you have to think about very carefully. Okay, this is from the curated, I'm going to read from the curated entries that are known as the Captain's Logs. This is chapter 4. If you're following along, it's Captain's Log 20-0004. And this is what I wrote while at the Hermitage on a Thursday. You saw from the slate, today's Tuesday. Doesn't really matter what the date is. Okay, so in this scene, I was doing the aforementioned growing of avocado in a thing, growing it, and had been doing that for a while. It was going along most wonderfully. This particular day, I decided that I was going to go over to the Hermitage and seek out Calusa, which you know all about because you've read the book, and show her my appreciation for something that she did, saving my sister's life, at least in my boyish eyes. That's what she did. And I came up with this crazy idea to bring her this thing that I was growing. And that may seem like, all right, but you have to understand, I was very young at the time, and put it in context. When you've already read the first parts of my entries, you'll understand why I thought, correctly so, that growing trees was something important to Calusa, and she was demonstrating in a way why it was important to all of us. We just had to learn and figure out why. Later on in the book, here's a spoiler alert, the tree that started out as an avocado seed, which is planted like in the very first, it's described, the planting of it was described very early in my entries, became an important part of my experience with trees in general, and this one in particular. It became known as the sentinel tree. But I digress. I always do that. I'm sorry. So I'm going to read from chapter 4. I think I've set it up pretty much Okay. And by this time, there was something called the appetizer storm, and that was a storm that came um, that was very violent. It was before the big one. Uh, it was, well, you know. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is because it's reference to that is made here. Okay, so here we go. I can't remember when exactly it was, sometime in the 20s, but it must have been not long after the episode with the appetizer storm. I thought it was only proper and nice to thank the Amazon princess for rescuing Kate the way she did. Plus, I had what looked like a good excuse to pay a visit to her and the hermit and see what was really going on over there. I may have also had somewhat of a boyish crush on her, but I was ill-equipped to know exactly how to show my appreciation in a proper, gentlemanly manner. I thought of flowers, but that seemed a little too hokey. Besides which, I had no money to get flowers anyway from an actual florist. Then I remembered the incident with the tree she was planting and had what I thought was a great idea. I had started to root an avocado seed, thinking how I could help feed ourselves better. Long-term planning, it would seem. I read somewhere on the internet how you could stick toothpicks in a seed you got from an avocado, after you ate the fruit, of course, and set the bottom half in water. Sure enough, after a few weeks, I had the thing sprouting up. Seeing those leaves sprout like that made me proud and a little excited, I might confess. I had actually made something grow. It was like magic in a way. Okay, the leaf, I can see the leaf coming up on the top. It hasn't quite sprouted yet, but believe me, it will happen and there will be a leaf. And when you see something like that, it does. At least for people like me. Weird people like me, I get excited when I see things grow. So, anyway, I had actually made something grow. It was like magic, in a way. In my sock drawer was a pair of socks. I was still holding on to them for some reason. They were riddled with holes and were long past their expiration date. My mom probably would think it was not a waste to forego trying to darn them up anymore. They were threadbare and not worth the trouble, but as usual, I felt the need to hold on to them. I couldn't bear the guilt of just throwing them away. Even back then, there was a sense with a lot of people that you needed to repurpose things, not just throw them away without giving them a new lease on life, which is exactly what I did. They were not made of burlap, but by doubling them up, they would serve my purpose well all the same. I rolled the doubled-up socks a line just so that all the holes were covered up, and carefully placed my sprouting avocado seed into the makeshift burlap mini-sack. On my way to the hermitage, I saw some flowers poking their heads up out of some weeds on the side of the road. In a flash of inspiration, I parked my bike and got a handful of flowers and arranged them, so to speak, to accentuate the twig with the two leaves sticking out of the mini burlap sock sack. Try to say that 10 times real fast. Balancing the whole contraption carefully on my handlebars, I continued on my way to the hermitage, proud of my clever ingenuity. Pride turned to anxiety and panic as I walked towards the front gate. What made me sally forth and onward I will never know, but I had the presence of mind enough to put the bouquet behind my back with my left hand, reaching forward with my right hand to ring the bell. Only there wasn't one. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I don't want to spoil too much for you if you haven't had a chance to read the book, and even if you had and had forgotten. But that is the message from the future for today. As always, don't forget to check out the website, 2020thebook.com. Explore around. You'll find Chapter 4 that we're talking about today on the website, and as time progresses, more and more content will be on the website. Let's see. Jean is in New Zealand, so I think what I'm supposed to say is good day, or maybe that's Australia. I don't know what they say in New Zealand, but what I say is toodaloo. Namaste. Well, it looks like you've made it through another episode of 2020, a reading from the captain from his curated collection of entries that he made in the future about his past, which is, well, for me today, my present. If you'd like to know more, please go to the website 2020thebook.com. There you have a host of information, lots of links to many different sources of information, and so on and so forth. Now, as far as these YouTube episodes, as you probably can see, I guess up at the top somewhere says SHAWN. That's the author of the aforementioned 2020. If you click down there where it says subscribe, then you will subscribe. I don't know what that means exactly, but I do know this, that it doesn't mean that I will be haunting you or your spam inbox folder. It's just to help the statistics for YouTube. You can also go to the author website, www.bshawn.Clark, the author of the book. That's me. If you want to see more, you can also get a copy of 2020 delivered to you by going to the aforementioned 2020 website and clicking on the upper right hand corner. Click that. It'll take you to the place where you can order it direct from the publisher. That's me. And or better yet, it'll take you to a page where you can order it from us or your favorite bookstore, which I do recommend. Almost all bookstores throughout the country, independent bookstores, have 2020 available. I would prefer, if you can, to go to their website and order it, or find out if they have it in stock, preferably, and go into your favorite indie bookstore and give it a go. Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention, and hope to see you again soon. Well, actually, I won't see you. I hope you get to see me again in the very near future. Namaste.